Nobody's taken more attacks than Trump. But unfortunately, that's created the precedent for the Democrats and the media and the federal law enforcement system to go after the next conservative who seeks the presidency. And the Nikki Haleys of the world, and the Chris Sununus of the world, and the Larry Hogans of the world, they're giving aid and comfort to these movements. I want to give you some statistics which shows you actually how big this Donald Trump victory was. It wasn't even close. It was enormous, and I'm going to tell you why. Because a friend of mine, David Brody, I think you've seen him on the Christian Broadcasting Network and elsewhere, he's a sharp guy. And he sent me this, and I posted this, and it's the best analysis I've read anywhere. He titles it, "The Fat Lady is Singing." He says, President Trump's victory in New Hampshire was actually even more impressive than his 30-point win in Iowa. Let us count the ways. Ready? Despite the fact that, 1, more than half of primary voters were not Republicans. 2, the electorate was more moderate/liberal, this time compared to 2016 by 9 points. 3, 64% of primary voters said they were not MAGA, Make America Great Again. 4, just 24% of primary voters said they were very conservative, compared to 52% in Iowa. 5, Nikki Haley had the endorsement of the popular governor of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu. Big loser, sniveling little. Anyway, he lost last night too. Number 6, Nikki Haley invested heavily in New Hampshire. She spent $30 million. The state has a population of 1.4 million people. She was on the airwaves nonstop, way more than Trump. She tried the same thing in Iowa. There's this PAC that's been set up that's backed by these Democrat billionaires, and that's how she's getting all this money flooding in. And do you have anything in common with a Democrat billionaire? You have anything in common with George Soros or Bill Gates or any of these people? These are the people who she's relying on now. Nikki Haley spent tons of time there. She was there way more than in Iowa, and that's the state where she spent almost all of her time. Nikki Haley had her, quote, two-person race on supposedly her type of political terrain. And yet, despite all those factors, she lost. In fact, as David Brody points out, Trump actually won easily. You know, a 12-point victory is a landslide. It's over. The fat lady is singing. I posted the other night, when the returns were starting to come in, before any of the networks, cable or otherwise, declared Trump the winner. I posted sarcastically, because it was clear he was the winner early on. I said the Mark Levin decision desk, which is made up of Mark Levin, declares Donald Trump the winner in New Hampshire. I told you last week, as I have on radio and Fox, this isn't a two-man race. It's over. It wasn't a two-man race after Iowa. Over. She spent almost $20 million. She has spent $50 million in 2 of the smallest states we've got. She spent $20 million in Iowa, 95% of the money trying to trash DeSantis because she wanted to come in number 2. She failed. She came in number 3. DeSantis, who's a class act, respectfully steps out and endorses Trump. No, he's not going to hang around the stage like those who want to be vice president. He's not going to do that because I don't think he wants to be vice president. He's the governor of Florida, and he's serious about being the governor of Florida. And I hope he's serious about considering the next election cycle, because he's fantastic. Can you imagine 4 years of Trump and 8 years of DeSantis? I think then the country would actually be fixed. But the Republican establishment, as you will see, a matter of time, hates DeSantis as much as they hate Trump. Nobody's taken more attacks than Trump. But unfortunately, that's created the precedent for the Democrats and the media and the federal law enforcement system to go after the next conservative who seeks the presidency. And the Nikki Haleys of the world, and the Chris Sununus of the world, and the Larry Hogans of the world, they're giving aid and comfort to these movements, to these tactics. And they're all loved by the media. If I see Chris Sununu one more time on TV, this absolute nobody who hasn't done a damn thing that anybody can think of, certainly not outside of New Hampshire, who talks as fast as Chris Matthews, who sounds constantly like he's on a sugar high, who makes nasty comments and then complains about Trump making nasty comments, who predicted a week ago that Nikki Haley would win and win decisively. Then a few days ago, he said, well, if she has a good showing, that's good enough. I'm sick and tired of the establishment frauds and the ruling class incompetence. I'm tired of them. And then they bring on people like Karl Rove and then these other people and so forth. And we've heard from them, losers, just, its whole thing is pathetic. Why not bring on people who know winners or predict winners and let them be the analysts? Well, they do that too all over TV, but why not just them? It's not two sides when you have losers who are never right versus people who are almost always right. Well, we have to have two sides. No, we don't, actually. Some more about Trump. Ronald Reagan lost New Hampshire in 1976 to Gerald Ford because it was the same thing. The Republican establishment, New England's more liberal. They have these weird voting systems. So you would expect in New England that that would happen, and an incumbent president, that would be Gerald Ford, will win. Well, he did. Donald Trump has won New Hampshire in the Republican primary, so-called, 3 times in a row. That's never been done, to my knowledge. Although the Nixon people told Bret Baier that Nixon did too. So, all right, that's been done twice. But that's remarkable. Winning Iowa and New Hampshire, I think it's no Republican in almost a century has done that. And he didn't just win them, he won them both by over 50%. That has never happened, ever. And so the new attack is, but he can't win over moderate Republicans or independents. Well, we're not in a general election yet. And so you don't need to surrender your principles by any means. Stick by them. That's how you'll win. But you can alter your message. And it's one-on-one at that point, one-on-one. There's no Nikki Haley, undermining the conservatives, and I include Make America Great people, conservatives. There's nobody within the party, officially, of course, they're in the shadows all the time, who are forcing a Donald Trump to spend money where he shouldn't have to spend money, on ads he shouldn't have to pay for in order to defend his #1 status. It's a completely different ballgame. Again, there are things you can emphasize that you wouldn't emphasize in a general election to win the primary, and vice versa. That's just smart politics. That's what Reagan did. That's what people do who want to win and put in place a conservative agenda.
Want to see more? Sign up for Levin TV.